What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. Today we're talking about the question, how to improve your social status, or should you? So we're talking about, does it really make sense to even aim for that? If we do, how we should do it, or should we say, forget all about that, just be your own person, enjoy life, and everything else will be fine. See, I personally have gone the whole roller coaster. So I was actually really low on a social status scale, let's say in school, because there you can't really escape it. You're in school and either people like you or they don't. So I was completely low, people did not like me, I was different, I was foreign. Then I learned how to actually fake it. I was perfect at playing the role of the popular kid. I did all of that and I was able, if I wanted to get people's approval and people's admiration. But knowing very well that this is not who I am, I knew very soon that I needed to change something. I sabotaged it myself, so I actually even isolated myself until I learned how to actually really show up as myself and build my tribe and my social status around that. And that's what I really want to talk to you about, because I believe everybody wants social inclusion. It's a human need. We all want it, we all need it, but we have to do it in a healthy way that is beneficial and helping us become the person we want to be. So today we're really gonna focus on the question, should you even care about social status? What downside it can have to be completely left out of that whole game, and what you can do so you can make the changes starting today to start building a social status that actually makes sense for you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications, and follow me on Instagram to stay up to date with the news around this channel. So let's break this down. Why is it such a bad idea to say, I don't want to have any social status, I don't care about this, I'm just gonna do my own thing? The problem is that normally when you say things like this, it comes from a place of self-isolation. It's an either or, it's a black and white kind of decision. See, we have learned that in the past, if we wanted to be included, if we wanted to have any kind of social status, it meant we had to obey by the rules the team was playing, by the rules the society was playing, by whatever it is that is shown to us as the truth, as reality, as society. And if we want to have any kind of impact in that society, we have to play by their rules. But that's an illusion. It really isn't the case. And I know where you're coming from, but please, if you're at a point where you rather say, I want to self-isolate, I can be completely by myself, realize that this is not what humanity is really about. And don't get me wrong, I really don't interact with many people outside of, my passion, outside of my closest relationships. I'm not saying you have to be an extrovert, you have to go to parties, you have to become and do what popular people do. I'm saying that you have to realize that maybe one of the reasons why you don't want any kind of social status or any kind of inclusion in a group is because you've thought of, oh, okay, the price is too high. I do not want to pay that price that I've been paying for so long, trying to fit in, realizing that I can't make it. I'm just not good enough. And of course you're not good enough, because there's this ideal what you think you should be in order to be accepted by the group you're surrounded by. And if you're in that state, of course you're not gonna measure up to it. Of course you're gonna get into a situation where you say, I'd rather isolate, so I don't go back in the situation and face humiliation, rejection, abandonment over and over again, trying to be something that I'm not, so it's a vicious circle, and I completely get that. And I've been in situations where I've self-isolated over and over again, but as I said, you're not sharing your truth. You're not really in a position where you thrive. You're pretty much just staying on a I'm surviving mode. That's all that is. We're kind of trying to make it by, not to rock the boat, so we don't upset the people around us, so they don't really see us as targets, so we get accepted somehow. But it doesn't have to be like this. It can really be that you build a social status based on who you are. See, we have to really take this negative connotation out of it. Social status does not mean you have to play by anybody's rules. Actually, it's the exact opposite. Because if you're in a situation where you feel like, if I'm being myself, I'm not included within this group, so I'd rather, self-isolate, that means that this group is not the group you should integrate in. This is not the group you should want to have a social status in. It's completely normal that your mind is telling you, I can't make it here. Or that you try, I'm just gonna pretend I'm so cool and so calm, or whatever you think is gonna be the thing while you're gonna be accepted in this group. But that's not gonna happen. If it hasn't happened so far, it's not gonna happen in the future. It's not like you're in a situation where you're making your life easier. You're always working against the grain. You're always pushing yourself in a situation where you don't belong. See, at this point, we have to understand that if we are in a circle, it may be our workspace, it can be our friends, it can be our family that we still interact with. We have a surrounding that does not help us to be who we are. Then we have to understand that on some level, we think that this is the truth and I'm wrong. The way I am, that's not the correct one. The way everybody else is and how like the people around me are, this is how I'm supposed to be and I'm not. Only if you feel like this, you stay in the situation. If you think you're a good person, what are you gonna do? You're gonna hang out with people who mirror back to you that you're a good person. If you think you're smart, you're gonna be around people who see that you're smart, who wanna see you thrive, who mirror back to you, even if they're your mentors, that you have something to give in that regard, right? But if you think of yourself, I'm a bad person, I'm stupid, I'm broke, whatever it is, you gotta surround yourself with these kind of people. And you have to understand that this is happening on a subconscious level. Meaning if I'm around people who do not reflect back to me what I think I deserve, then on some subconscious level, I think this is what I deserve. I think this is the kind of respect and love I'm allowed to have. And very similar, it's with the men I dated. Like I look back now and understand, of course it didn't work out. Of course it didn't, because I was being around people and being interested in people and men that had no chance of being my partner. There was no chance they could really be somebody who pulls me up. There were always people who were struggling more than me. There were always people that I kind of felt like I have to dim my light. And why was I choosing them? Well, on a conscious level, I always thought, well, those are the cool guys. Those are the guys that would really, understand me, that would understand how funny I am and how interesting I am. But subconsciously, I was choosing them. And of course, with all of that, their rejection, because that's what it came down to. In the end, I wanted something, I knew from a mental space, I needed somebody who's just as determined about their life as I am. And I was going around people who weren't, and they weren't at a place yet where they would do it for them. They wouldn't see that potential in them, so how could they ever see that potential in me? So it took for me to understand that I really am a person of that value, that I really am a person who believes in her own worth, who believes in my potential, that I was actually starting to be around people and get interested in people who could be my equal, who could really pull me up if I needed them, who I could pull up from time to time. But in the end, we were a team. We were really there to support each other. So the main point of this is our subconscious runs our mind, and we have to stop pretending that we have it all figured out. We definitely, all of us, still carry things with us that keep us at a level that is not healthy for us. And if you're in an environment where the people around you do not appreciate you, again, black and white, it does not have to be that, they completely appreciate you or they don't appreciate you at all, but where you feel you're not being appreciated enough, your social status isn't there where you think it should be, then it's because we have chosen a group, a peer group, that we take our feedbacks from and say, this is reality, when it's not. So instead of telling yourself, oh, the people around me don't like me, although I don't find them interesting, but even if I did, they don't find me interesting, so I'm rather gonna self-isolate, or I'm gonna pretend I'm like them, or I'm gonna dim my light, or pretend I'm different, so I get accepted in that group. Both of them are not gonna make you happy, and both of them are not sustainable, because you can't be sustainable in isolation. It's not good for your soul, it's not good for your body. We need that human interaction and we need that human connection, and in an intimate way. So when I say intimate, I mean vulnerable, honest, in a way where you really show up as the person that you really are and not as this made-up version that you think people are gonna like. So on the other side of the spectrum, the people who actually do get into the social situations and actually try to make other people like them will see over and over again that the people won't accept them, because people understand also on a subconscious level that you're trying to fit in, that it's really important for you to be part of that group, which is, as I said, normal, but you're doing it at the price of your own soul, your truth, and just who you are. So once we figured out that it's neither an option to self-isolate because this leads to depression, nor it's good to pretend to be somebody else in order to fit in and be liked. Also leads to depression, maybe like in different directions, but both of them will not give us like the honest and true social status we aim to have within our group of real peers, of people who do see us. So the solution is actually to take a step back and to understand that this is not an all or nothing situation. You're not gonna wake up one day and then realize, oh, I have this great social status in this environment that I love, and yesterday I was in this other environment, nobody liked me there, and it was awful. There's this desire, there's this dream that somewhere out there, there's that group that will accept you, that will love you for who you are. You'll have the social circle of your lifetime, and there you have the social status that you want. You're gonna be the one people look up to if you have something to say, or people know that you're the one who is the toughest and will always fight through. Whatever it is that you feel about yourself and you want to be seen. We all have that image, and if we don't tap into this, it will stay an image. We have to understand it's all about process, it's about the progress and not the end result, because there is no end result. There is no such thing as, oh, now I'm being completely accepted, now I have this great social status for being who I am, and the other time I didn't. You know, like that's not how it goes. Like I know now I have a higher status than I used to, and it's so much more sustainable, it's so much more honest, it's so much who I really am. But I know and I hope the more I really develop, that in 2 years it's gonna be much better than this. And hopefully looking back, I'll know that today I was still, doing things that were not in my highest interest. And I believe there's always layers to this. And if we really commit to going on those layers and pulling them back like an onion, it gets better and better. So once you start like realizing that this is the way to go and you can't really dream of something out there, you have to create it. And it's about like those little steps you do every day. Then it's really about time to say like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be in this world? Like, how do I want people to see me, and how do I want to show up? Like, how do I want to be of service? This is also a part of the Epic Life Masterclass or audio course, and it's really the sweet spot between how do you want people to see you and how do you want to be of service. So how do you want people to see you? Like really write it down, because I always say it's so uniquely you. There is no chance that somebody else wants the exact same thing you want, although it seems like everybody does it. It's like, I need air, I need water to drink. Of course, everybody else wants it, but that's not the case. We want those universal things, like we want love, we want connection, we want to be seen. Yes, but you might want to be seen for somebody who's very strong. She might want to be seen for somebody who's sweet. He might want to be seen as somebody who's very sensitive, while somebody else wants to be seen as very creative. There's no chance that other people firstly know how you want to be seen, and second of all, that you think it's universal for everybody. It's not. Trust me, it's not. So once you become aware of it, how you want to be seen, then it's time to actually tap into this. You can do this through archetypes, you can do this through other role models, like, find like an artist or like a musician, somebody that kind of like represents and mirrors back to you that feeling you want to have. And live that out. Start living that out today. Like, what can you add to your life today that would show that? If you want to be a fighter, what could you take on that will represent to the world, to your life, that you're a fighter? So for me, it was, for example, starting this channel, because this was not something that was accepted. It wasn't like a cool channel. It wasn't like the cool thing to do. It wasn't like I started vlogging and I was like, hey guys, what's up? Today we're going to the gym. Like, it just wasn't me. And me showing up and doing something like this took courage. It was much more courageous than, as I said, doing something that could have looked good, because I knew that I was giving up all of that fake image that I had built for myself. All that status that was not sustainable, because it represented everything that I'm not and I could just, morph into. I gave all of that up, because choosing a path like this that actually made me feel strong, that made me feel like a fighter, I knew what I was giving up. I knew that I was going a road that was actually more me, and that road meant that I had to be a fighter. If I, for example, had all the wishes that I had now, but I didn't have this real thing in me that I wanted to be a warrior, if I didn't have that, I probably would have chosen another direction, something that would have been much more comfortable. But because I want to be a fighter and because I want people to see me as a fighter, because I see myself as a fighter and a warrior and a person who can persevere, because I see it part of my personality, that's why I chose this path. And at the same time, it's completely unique because it's not just being a fighter. I didn't become like a ninja warrior or somebody who does CrossFit. And I know that there are so many other things that are mentally challenging. But getting away from that matrix, getting away from what I consider like what society wants, that's the kind of fighter spirit I see in myself. And that's why choosing that path represented that for me. And the moment I did that, you know what happened around me? My entire environment changed. The people who actually liked me before but didn't like me once I became this fighter personality, they thought, oh, okay, I just had a wrong image of her. Because up until this point, I allowed people to project something on me that I wasn't really stating. You know, like when you're not standing up for who you are and you're actually dimming your light and you're keeping yourself small, you allow other people to project onto you whatever they want to see in you and not what you want them to see in you. See, in the end, you cannot make people see you in a certain way, but you can definitely show up in a certain way that makes it more difficult for them to project something onto you that you just haven't declared yet. You know, you just let it open, you left it a blank, people could really say what they want. The more you show up, the more choices you make that reflect who you are personally, who make it very specific what matters to you, you're actually making yourself, of course, more vulnerable because you're seen, you know, you're actually being seen, but you also give people the opportunity to choose if they want to be with you. Only when you show up and you do things that reflect your personality, people who actually are attracted to that, who really value that, who want to see that, will find you, will come closer to you, and the people who don't will go away. As I said, this is not something that happens from one day to the other. This is a process. This is progress. We don't care about an end result. We just want it to go in that direction. And if you keep doing this, if you keep making those steps, although they're so hard in the beginning, because it's like this. Let's say you're the status quo, you're in the beginning of this process, you have those two choices. You can either go for isolation, which will give you 20% of, feeling fulfilled and, being included because on some point you're not really annoying anybody, so they tolerate you, or you could try to be who they want you to be and maybe then you could make it to 25. But at the same time, it's not who you really are. You always feel that part of you is not really showing up. And that way, you can't really sustain it. There are people who are really good at playing that part for a long time, and it's actually also a good strategy because what they learn is, oh, I'm actually building a status for myself, pretending to be something that people want, and then I change more and more into the person that I want to be. Because now I already have the approval. Now I already have and see people who want me to be how I am. And you see this with celebrities all the time. Rihanna, she did the whole thing of being the pop princess and being in everybody's magazines and albums and whatever. And the more success she had, the more she realized, well, I don't have to do all of that. I can actually do more and more of what really fulfills me. So now she actually takes more control in a back seat. She's not in everybody's face because that's apparently not who she is. Jennifer Lopez, on the other hand, she's an entertainer. She loves doing that. But Rihanna, you see her newest fashion shows and you see she's like a creative at heart. That's her thing. And having the reins from the back, that seems more and more her thing. Even if you look at Beyonce, her evolution. Justin Bieber, in the beginning, all in your face and doing everything and being completely, not liked by the world because he was just pretending. And, the more he found his way, he calmed down. And, those are just examples of, society, how we know it now, of pop culture. But I'm seeing this with so many people, and it's everybody. And we get to decide how much more we want to be us, because we don't need that inclusion at a price that is so high. We don't need that, and thankfully our society is really moving in a direction where we allow individualism more and more. The way our society is built up now, we can step out of the matrix because every one of our lives gets more and more individualized. Just a quick example is, for example, 20 or 30 years ago, you had your 10 channels on TV. Today, every single person has an individualized feed. They have their own YouTube feed, they have their own even Netflix feed, they have their Instagram feed, and this is the way we connect with people. It's not so much, this is the only norm, you have to be this certain way, and if you're not like this, you're not accepted. Thankfully, we're moving into a direction where everything is more allowed, where everything is more accepted and appreciated. Thankfully, we're there. So let's use that. Let's really become the person we want to be and build our social status around that. Because social status is a good thing. It's not about you standing on a pedestal, people admiring you, and you don't have to do anything for it. Like that kind of behavior, that's actually what I was living on a small scale when I was younger. I was able to kind of like pretend to be what other people wanted me to be, and people were like, ah, but you know, it wasn't me. So that will not make you happy, and this is not what social status is about. Social status will actually come if you start giving, if you start being of service, if you start caring about others and not about yourself in a selfish way. And if you think about like all those people that I was talking about, like, you know, celebrities in their 20s, you know, before they actually make that shift, one of the main reasons why this happens actually to a lot of people who are, let's say, in their 20s or in their early 30s, and then you have like this like quarter life crisis where people realize, you know, this is not what's right, or you have this midlife crisis when you're older, you know, like those things happen because we realize that we've been really focusing on satisfying our ego. Carl Jung says it in all of his work, you know, at some point you're really trying to really focus and really find a way to satisfy that, to really be somebody in an ego sense, and then you realize either, oh, I really reached that to some point, it didn't give me the satisfaction, or you realize there's nothing to be gained here, and then you really start the process of, oh, I'm not alone on this earth. It's not about me shining. It's actually me being in a positive interdependence. I'm part of this. I'm part of like a bigger thing, which is society, this world, you know, our culture, whatever you find important, and to really be of service in creating something that is bigger than you. You know, being a part of something. And when you start focusing on others, when you start wanting to be of service and sharing your own truth, and that can really be even just being who you are. Like that, even that, by you showing up authentically, that in itself is already being of service. And also, this is something that is very, very unique to you. There is no way, there's not one person who wants to show up the same way you do. And showing up and being of service is something different than how do you want people to see you. Like, I want people to see me as a fighter. That's part of my personality. But my way of being of service is to help people to help themselves. That's what I do. Like, other people love to make people happy through their cooking, through their baking, through their music. They want to touch people's emotion and make them feel alive. Whatever it is, this is so unique to you, and everybody has this unique gift in us that living out will be of service to the world. So wanting to improve our social status in a healthy and a sustainable way is actually a good thing, but it comes from us showing up, from us being more and more who we are, and that way we actually transform our environment, we transform our reality, we transform the people we hang around with, and with that we transform ourselves. It's really a circle of growth, and that's what we should aim for. So instead of downplaying our need for social inclusion and our really born-in trait and need and desire to improve our social status, we should look at it as a driving force to help us to be more of who we are, so we can share with the world our own truth, be of service, and show up in the way other people really see who we are. We get to combine those two. That's the sweet spot. If we start focusing on making little steps towards that sweet spot of how do you want people to see you and how do you want to be of service, then you see how your social status improves, you do not self-isolate, and you don't play the victim. You're not a victim of your circumstance, although it might seem like this. I know what I'm talking about. Like, I used to be there. I know getting up and feeling like my life is boring, there's nobody around me that really likes me, that understands me, and I actually don't want to be around the people that I see every day. Well, we get to change that. What can you do today that'll move you towards that? It's a leaning in part. It's about making those little incremental steps towards that every single day. They'll make you be the person you want to be. They'll make you improve your social status. They'll make you feel alive. One of the ways to do that is actually to strategically start building your tribe. So if you haven't watched that video, watch it now. I really hope today's video gave you some valuable tools and inspiration to move towards your epic life on your terms today. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.